Few money managers have the solid reputation in investing that multi-billionaire Warren Buffett does. Through December 31, 2021, he's overseen the Class A shares of conglomerate Berkshire Hathaway, which have had an average annual return of 20.1% since he took over as CEO in 1965. In other words, whether a newbie investor or a seasoned professional, everyone seems to pay careful watch when Warren Buffett purchases or disposes of shares of a firm. Warren Buffett has stated several times that his preferred holding duration for a high-quality stock is forever. In this video, we will talk about 7 stocks that Warren Buffett keeps buying. Stock number 1, Chevron. Buffett's newfound passion for energy equities will undoubtedly be the largest change to Berkshire Hathaway's portfolio in 2022. No time in the previous 21 years, which is as far back as whalewisdom.com's sector allocator tool goes, has the energy sector represented such a sizable portion of Buffett's portfolio. The Oracle of Omaha increasing his company's interest in Chevron by approximately 121 million shares during the first quarter is a major factor in this. Warren Buffett seldom invests in shorter-term securities. Thus, his growing interest in Chevron can only be explained by his conviction that energy commodity prices will continue to rise for some time. It's possible to argue that the price of oil and natural gas will move significantly higher than usual. There's simply no simple way to increase supply to the market, given that major domestic and foreign oil and gas companies have reduced capital spending because of the pandemic and Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Even when short-term volatility pushes energy commodities a little lower, this should be positive for oil and natural gas prices over the long run. Buffett probably likes Chevron's integrated operational approach as well. Although the drilling business is where the corporation makes its most lucrative profits, it also runs transmission pipelines, refineries, and chemical facilities. Typically fixed-fee or volume-based contracts, which generate relatively predictable revenue flow, are relied upon by transmission pipelines. In contrast, when crude oil prices decline, downstream refining and chemical companies often benefit from decreased input costs. Chevron actually has all of its bases met. The fact that Chevron has a strong 3.7% dividend and plans to repurchase up to $10 billion worth of its shares in 2022 is the icing on top of the dessert. Rarely does Warren Buffett reject a market titan with a large capital return program. Stock number 2, Activision Blizzard. Activision Blizzard, a maker of video games, is a second stock that Oracle of Omaha can't stop adding to Berkshire Hathaway's holdings. According to remarks made by Buffett during his company's annual shareholder meeting, he more than tripled Berkshire's position in Activision throughout the first quarter and has allegedly persisted to add. The fact that Buffett's Activision Blizzard holding, which represents 9.5% of the remaining shares of the business, is solely an arbitrage opportunity, makes it particularly intriguing. It's a short-term investment, in other terms. Microsoft, a leading provider of software, made an all-cash bid of $95 to purchase Activision in mid-January. Microsoft already has a big gaming footprint, but to achieve its metaverse goals, it is probably aiming to add Activision. Connected users will be able to engage with one another and their surroundings in 3D virtual settings thanks to the metaverse, the next generation of internet. Activision stock last traded at $80.59 on August 3, 2022, so if the purchase goes through, there will be nearly 18% arbitrage opportunity. But the $64,000 issue is eventually whether authorities will approve the transaction. The purchase is under rigorous scrutiny by the UK's antitrust agency, and Microsoft could have to make some adjustments in order for it to go through. Only time will tell if Buffett's arbitrage bet was wise. Stock number 3, Occidental Petroleum. Ever hear of Warren Buffett's insatiable appetite for energy stock prices? In the oil and gas firm Occidental Petroleum, Berkshire Hathaway had a $10 billion holding in preferred shares at the start of the year. So in addition to this 8% yielding preferred stock investment, Buffett's business also has more than 181 million shares of Occidental common stock. The rationale behind these significant purchases is comparable to Chevron's. The operational cash flow and earnings of Occidental Petroleum should significantly increase if oil and gas prices stay high for the near future. Occidental, like Chevron, is an integrated firm, although the pumping business accounts for the majority of its income. Perhaps even more so than Chevron, it is a straight gamble on rising oil and gas costs. However, Occidental Petroleum's balance sheet has been a catastrophe over the past few years, unlike Chevron. The business was heavily indebted as a result of the acquisition of Anadarko In. Even after paying off $4.8 billion in debt in the quarter that ended in June, the corporation still carries roughly $21.7 billion in net long-term debt. Even while there has been a $13.6 billion improvement since last year, the firm still needs favorable energy commodity prices in order to totally right the ship. If an 8% preferred stock dividend wasn't enough of a perk for Buffett, the company Occidental Petroleum has started repurchasing its own shares. Through August 1, 2022, the corporation retired more than 18 million shares for a cost of $1.1 billion. Stock number 4, Berkshire Hathaway. The fourth investment that Warren Buffett won't quit purchasing is his own business. The share repurchase policies of Berkshire Hathaway were quite simple prior to July 17, 2018. Berkshire Hathaway's book value had to be 120% or less if Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger intended to repurchase shares. The Oracle of Omaha stock never reached this level between mid-2012 and mid-2018. Actually, repurchasing shares of stock can boost a company's earnings per share in conjunction with flat or increasing net income by reducing the number of outstanding shares. Theoretically, a continuing share repurchase program might improve a company's intrinsic appeal to Wall Street and investors. Stock number 5, Apple. Apple is one of Warren Buffett's absolute favorite companies, and he added to Berkshire Hathaway's shares during a 3-day decline in the share price. He still desired more. Unfortunately, the stock went back up, so I stopped. Buffett mentioned to CNBC after Berkshire Hathaway's annual shareholders meeting in May. Otherwise, who knows how much we would have bought. Apple is by far Berkshire's largest holding, making over 43% of the portfolio, and Buffett wouldn't have it any other way. As well it may be. Berkshire is Apple's third largest shareholder, owning 887 million shares, or around 5.5% of the company's total stock. Only rarely has the Oracle of Omaha invested in technology stocks. He did, however, buy Apple with both hands, and he's more than willing to talk about his love for Apple. He has stated on CNBC several times that he admires the strength of the Apple brand and its network of goods and services, including the iPhone and iPad. I don't think of Apple as a stock. Buffett has mentioned about Apple. I think of it as our third business. For Buffett, this was a very successful investment. Since the conclusion of Q1 2016, when Berkshire started investing in AAPL, the stock has increased in value by more than 430%. The price of the market as a whole has hardly increased throughout that time. Stock number 6, General Motors. Buffett reportedly increased Berkshire's investment in General Motors by 3%. Over the first 3 months of 2022, the value of the automaker's shares fell by a quarter, which boosted GM's dividend yield and stock price. Early in 2012, Buffett invested in General Motors for the first time. Since then, he's grown more positive about the fourth largest producer of automobiles in the world. In 2018, 2019, and 2020, he increased his investment in Berkshire. However, in 2021, he reversed his course and decreased his exposure. General Motors has long seemed like a traditional value investment from Warren Buffett. After all, GM is one of the most recognizable American brands. Additionally, he has frequently praised CEO Mary Barra. Additionally, the stock consistently trades at absurdly low multiples of predicted earnings. Less than 1% of Berkshire's portfolio is still devoted to General Motors, but the new purchase at least demonstrates that Buffett is still interested in the historic corporation. Stock number 7, Formula One Group. In a move that was probably managed by Ted Welcher, Berkshire increased its ownership of Formula One Group by more than thrice. The conglomerate now owns 7.7 million shares, altogether valued at $539 million as of March 31, after the purchase of an additional 5.6 million shares. Berkshire started the investment in Q4 2021. It was a little one, consisting of only 2.1 million shares, valued at $134 million at the time. Formula One still barely makes about 0.15% of Berkshire's total portfolio worth. The Formula One title, a 9-month motor racing competition in which teams compete for the Constructors' Championship and drivers compete for the Drivers' Championship. So let us know in the comments, what are your thoughts on this, and if you found this video interesting, please hit the like button.